power of the dark side.
Hello internets, today I will bring you the top 10 conservative/anti-globalist news outlets. The ones that qualified into my list are either news outlets that are already existing or are based on a person that made a great impression on me during an interview or a debate. And do note that not everyone dares to admit that there's any globalist conspiracy at play, or simply does not believe that it exists. That's the distinction in the title. Let's get into it, shall we?
Number 10. Mainstream media. Wow, this can't be in the script, or can it? Perhaps I was brainwashed or threatened to death, but actually no, I do believe the Western mainstream media is corrupt and are full of misleading news to spread propaganda, fear, and at the same time persuade the people to remain tame regardless of the chaos they are suffering from. But the cunning warrior keeps his friends close, but his enemies closer. Most likely anyone that knows that the New World Order would understand that it is a pretty good way to see what they are up to, how they are trying to control the people and at the same time attack their opposition. Also, it is a very fast way to get news. But if you want to see more accurate news or simply the truth, then you'd better go look elsewhere. This is Hester Rellis reporting for the top 10.
Whoa! Take him now, take him now, take him now. Somebody take him now.
Number 9. Larry Elder.
I want to get this right, so I want to look at my notes for this. According to this, you are black. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay.
Not African American. That's not a term I like.
Larry Elder is a conservative radio show host that during an interview on the Rubin Report showed off his great understanding and backed that up with even stronger facts. I found him to be a very impressive man that are very awake to the current problems in America.
And the reason they get it is because blacks are convinced that the number one issue facing the country right now is social justice, racist white cops, discrimination, systemic racism, microaggression, whatever new word they come up with, and it's a bunch of nonsense. The number one problem domestically facing this country is the breakdown of the family. And President Obama said it, I didn't. A black kid, or a kid, not just a black kid, a kid raised without a dad is 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crimes, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. So you're far more likely to end up in jail without having a dad than you are because of a white racist cop. Half the homicides in this country are committed by and against black people. Last year there were 14,000 homicides, not talking about suicides, I'm talking about homicides. Half of them were black, 96% of them black on black of that 7,000. Where's the Black Lives Matter people on that? Donald Trump does not need their money. He does not have to take their phone call. So this guy can really do what should be done for the American people, which is to get all the crony capitalism and all these so-called special interests out of our government and get it down to the size it ought to be. Boeing gets money from the government. Google gets money from the government. Dutch Royal gets money from the government. This is corporate welfare, and the reason it happens is because they give contribution to the politicians who in turn then do their bidding. Donald Trump does not need their money. He is in a position to downsize the government in a way unlike any other politician I've ever seen.
Well, as a black conservative, tell me how do you get people to come around?
You're the one who made the assertion that you think racism remains a major problem in America. I asked you to give me an example. You gave me white cops going after blacks. As far as I'm concerned, you didn't hold it up very well. What's the other argument you have?
What's up? Number 8, mate. The Dyson Katie Hopkins, a British female author that strongly stood up to the labeling media and smeared their oppressive political correctness right back into their faces during a live debate against a Muslim named Mu Ansar. I was so astonished by her performance, so I couldn't just leave her out of the list.
Katie, surely you must agree with that in some sense. You can't believe that all immigrants are criminals and rapists. They're no worse than anybody else, surely.
I think there's no way, there's no chance I'll ever agree with a single word that comes out of Mo's little face. You know, ultimately, what he loves to do is sling a label around: xenophobe, far right, Islamophobe. Get ready for it, because he loves to label people. I'm not from the far right. You know what?
If the label sticks,
I'm
wear
a
it,
hard-working...
Katie. If the label
Mo,
sticks, wear it.
Do you mind? Do you mind, Mo? You can throw labels all you want, but they mean nothing to me. I'm a hard-working British taxpayer, and taxpayers do not want to fund migrants who are coming to our countries and show no gratitude whatsoever for the fact that we have welcomed them in. We had a situation on New Year's Eve where 500 women were assaulted in one way or another, and the police said, do you know what, the evening passed off calmly, the evening passed off well. This whole idea we have to repress bad stories about migrants, and we can only speak about them in terms of kind of ultimate welcome, and we can only speak about migrants with reverence. I don't buy into that one jot. And just because, as Mo says, women are attacked in the UK doesn't make it right. More rapes do not make it right. They make those rapes wrong, but they make rapes by migrants even worse.
But
a guy
Katie,
raping a 10-year-old and saying it was because he hadn't had sex for 4 months. Are you really defending that, Mo Anza? Because you should be ashamed.
Do you
Stop saying
believe
my
that
name.
immigrants are more likely to commit criminal acts than natives? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, I'm saying that. It's shown to be true in the statistics. I think culturally the two don't map together. They have no respect for white women whatsoever. They do not have respect for me. I'm a dirty Kafir as far as they're concerned. They call me a whore, and they'd be happy to use me at their will. And I don't want myself nor my daughters exposed to those type of gentlemen. And gentlemen they are not.
Are people who are...
Qatar,
Well, Katie, you know, I'd happily ship you off. I'd happily ship you off to Qatar, and you can deal with it in Qatar, Katie, because your views do not reflect the views of British and English people.
Mohammed, Katie, it's been an absolute pleasure.
No, it's 'cause you're Katie Hopkins.
And I hope we can get you both back on
very
sometime.
Number 7. The Forgotten Ones. The Forgotten Ones are probably one of the most important people to listen to in today's world, whether they have different opinions or not. These are people that are being oppressed or simply just being ignored by society. People like just you and me, regular citizens that can't make their voices heard. People that are being choked on fear by their own governments. While I have strong beliefs in my own ideology, but I do believe in the right of freedom of speech. And most important of all, free thinking. And that is being limited in the Western world, day by day. Nummer 6. RT News. Russia Today News, или Россия сегодня, is the Russian news outlet that was founded in 2005. That makes broadcasts in Arabic, по-английски, по-русски и Espanol. I find this particular channel very interesting because it allows Russia to tell their version of the story, instead of being depicted as the prime evil of the world, as our mainstream media would have us believe. I personally think that Putin is one of the strongest and most intellectual leaders in the world, and if I ever would have to shake some politician's hand, then it probably would have been his. I truly think that Russia have been blessed with his leadership over the years. On this channel, he can get the chance to respond to the false accusations and make his very own statements in a fair environment, and sometimes even show his own humanity. Some would say that this is his own propaganda machine, but who isn't really using propaganda in today's world? I won't edit that. Number 5. Fox News. Fox News is one of the renowned American free conservative news outlets in America. Reporter Amy Horowitz did a fantastic job at reporting the truth of the evil that corrupts Sweden, and how we are committing cultural suicide. I am thankful at heart for this excellent piece of reporting, since it is a subject that is forbidden in Sweden. oppressing its very own and ancestral people. Judge Janine is also a spot-on judge that is being featured on this channel. She completely justifies her title as she swoops with her hammer of judgment, of common sense and truth, onto the evildoers that seeks to corrupt and weaken the people's perception of reality with lies.
We found out exactly how dangerous when, while we were setting up a shoot at a neighboring location, we were approached by 5 men and told to leave. While my crew took off, I stayed to simply ask why we had to leave. Because I was still wired, we have the sound of what happened next.
How come it's a problem to film here?
I don't want to be filmed.
I know, but why? What's the why?
I just don't want to.
Spawn, you know? But why?
Let me see. Hello, let me see.
I'm not filming anything. Look.
Show me what you got.
Let go of me.
Show me what you got.
Show me.
Show me your phone.
Let go. I'll show you.
I don't want your phone. Show me.
Let go. Help!
I was not the first person assaulted by gangs of immigrants, nor will I be the last. But women are taking the brunt of the explosion of violence across Sweden. When I went to a police station, I noticed that the vast majority of the people waiting to report a crime were women. Later, the police officer who I met with told me that most were there to report rape.
4. Anonymous updates. This is an anonymous group of people that states that they are many and are completely independent. While I sometimes argue with some of their own shared point of views and methods, they seem to be doing good out of their hearts and using their enormous skills of hacking to infiltrate any and all corrupt and evil powers of the world. This of course brings them many enemies. I heard of one official actually threatened them and then immediately got hacked and had his secrets leaked out. I thought it was a funny story to share, but nevertheless, they base their information upon real uncovered documents that they can obtain through their mastery of hacking, which would make their statements very interesting to say the least. I find the way they write their lines for their videos intellectual, and the very fact that they are doing this because they think it's right gives me respect for them. This might be seen as incredible for others, and the corrupt trembles at the powers of Anonymous. Also worth mentioning WikiLeaks. From what I heard from one of Anonymous' videos, it have been compromised by the CIA and therefore are not to be trusted.
It was around this time that jihadists began flooding into the region intent on ousting Assad. The West presented these groups as freedom fighters. The vast majority of these militants, ISIS included, are Sunni jihadists, which is significant, because Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey and Jordan are all Sunni as well. And Saudi Arabia in particular has a long history of spreading their preferred strain of Sunni extremism, Wahhabism, by investing heavily in building mosques, madrasas, schools, and Sunni cultural centers across the Muslim world. Now they have ISIS pushing it by the barrel of a gun. ISIS adheres to the Wahhabi form of Sunni Islam. ISIS is not merely some dark aberration. Wahhabism as a philosophy calls for its adherents to take the reins of power by force, and to impose Sharia law.
Number 3, the Truth Channel. Simple ideas usually leads to success, and that is exactly what this YouTube channel is based upon. This channel copies videos from others and releases them onto their own channel with their logo marked so you know whose channel you're on. A personal favorite of mine because they mostly show relevant material and they seem to go against the globalists. That in particular makes me like them even more. Second place. Mark Dice was the guy I found before the big man. I found him doing interviews with people, asking simple questions or sometimes in factual news to see who had the basic knowledge or even common sense. Very similar to what Jay Leno was doing back in the day, but I was confused that someone actually asked all these types of questions. I mean, I thought it was all being censored, pressed, controlled, but it was all liberal. This was not controlled by any government, independent. So I really got stuck into his videos for days and finally learned what the Illuminati was about. And yes, I never took it upon myself learning about it because I thought it was just like in the movies. But it all became apparent to me that it was true. as I started to compare with my own notes along with all of these new sources I found, yes, some things might sound out of place, but I think in most part that Mark Guy does really good work trying to expose the New World Order, and I do find it very funny when he actually hates on celebrities and exposes their agendas and ill-doings, so to speak. And he's not afraid either to go against homosexual marriages and dares to take a stand for Christianity.
Just getting comments from people about Barnes & Noble taking out those homophobic verses from the Bible and selling new LGBT-friendly editions. About time they do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely not the social norm.
About time for
creating our
like
own
that.
culture. Yeah, it's definitely, it's time for something that thoughtful.
I would definitely say yes. I definitely do agree that if there's anything that makes anyone feel not included when a religion is about love, it should be taken out. It should be changed.
Just a couple little verses in the Bible that they're going to be taking out. So that's about time for that, you think?
Yeah.
I don't know if they should be taken out, but they should be censored.
Okay, so
Censor.
censor the Bible. That's a good idea.
No, I don't think that that's reasonable. I mean, because what they preach in their church is what they preach. That takes away freedom of speech.
Infowars.com, the #1 free media on the web. Alex Jones is the leader of Infowars and have been working to expose the globalists for over 25 years. The true Americano that is spearheading the globalist foundation, seeking out the truth and exposes them on a daily basis. They are not being cowards about it. They even dare show their own faces. He tries to defend America, Christianity, Europe and other parts of the world. And the very essence of freedom itself that is being under attack. This is without a thought the #1 channel on my list. They have been accused constantly of being crazy conspiracy theories, fake news, Russian-founded propaganda agents, you name it, by the very enemies themselves. But they still are there, and Alex Jones is backed up by a great crew and allies that are working really hard to thwart back the globalist oppression. And he really doesn't just defend America, like I said. He even covers news stories based in Europe and many other subjects, takes in experts, and is in contact with a lot of important people that are tired of the establishment. That helps him get crucial information.
What bothers me is there have been indictments before and criminal investigations of insider trading, of all sorts of impropriety going on. Massive illegal lobbying has gone on in Bilderberg for weapons deals, energy companies, you name it. And you'll not just have the 140 attendees or so, you'll have 30 to 50 or even more secret attendees. That's why they cover their faces up. Government ministers, regulators, heads of the EU, antitrust, meeting with Google, meeting with Microsoft, meeting with individual men that are worth 50, 60, 70 billion dollars. And that's why you've got the police from 4 different constabularies here just minutes ago saying we need to move off and don't even shoot video here, and that we're not even allowed to be here 20 feet off the sidewalk because they're afraid of what will be done to them and their careers if they don't properly curtsy to the global organized mafia that's meeting 500 to 600 yards away with an iron fence paid for by taxpayers in the United States. And it is outrageous that this is happening.
But aren't you just a conspiracy theorist? It's just crazy conspiracy theory.
You're right, I'm a conspiracy theorist that there's a major scandal in the UK right now with 3 members of parliament resigning over illegal lobbying and allegations of that. And you're right, there's no Bilderberg meeting. I mean, they've said for 50 years this doesn't exist. They said for 30 plus years when reporters were exposing in the US, it didn't exist. I have been there with the Secret Service aiming MP5 machine guns at me to try to scare me on video. And the New York Times says it doesn't exist when I have high-def footage. Okay, with Marines on the roof with rocket launchers and anti-aircraft missiles in case somebody tries to fly a plane into it. They've probably got anti-aircraft missiles in there right now. They've got a no-fly zone over this deal. That's what's going on. We know. It's not our opinion. And the idea that it's a conspiracy theory that royalty and the heads of state and robber barons meet in secret to scheme, the idea that that doesn't exist is a complete and total fraud. You know what? I have been here alone covering this with no mainstream media. And so, first I was crazy it didn't exist. Now it exists, but I'm crazy to cover it. And so, if I'm crazy like a fox. Is that it? We're crazy!
Doesn't exist.
Hey, I want to say something else. I want to say something else for the viewers out there. I want you all to get this. If you had 125 Hollywood stars meeting in secret in there, you would have helicopters flying all around. But you've got world leaders meeting in secret. I mean, they covered Davos. They covered G20. This is basically a secret Davos G20 meeting. And I'm crazy. Now, notice the BBC turned off, and here come the cops. And then we're supposed to be... When are we supposedly going to be let into the free speech zone?
Tomorrow morning, I think it's about 8 o'clock.
And how close does it come to the road so we can take photos of the gangsters?
Well, you can see that fencing there. That's where you're going to be at the edge of your space.
Is that the edge of the road?
You need to speak to the protest liaison officer that's been dealing with you.
Okay, sure. Where is the protest liaison officer?
I'll get him to meet you down there.
What is your name, sir?
Darren Wood.
Can I shake your hand?
Yeah.
Darren, nice to meet you. Hey,
nice to meet you.
I just want to give you the news because I actually read it in the Financial Times. In about 5 years, your whole pension's gone. No amount of tax raises will get it. You've all been robbed by these people.
Okay.
Remember, they've stolen all your money on purpose to impoverish you. So just remember that.
Thanks very much.
Just remember.
All right.
Just remember.
Thanks a lot.
You bet. Enjoy it.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Our long-awaited meeting have come at last. Actually, let me get rid of this robe. It's a bit too hot in this thing, actually. But let's speak face to face like this. So the thing is, I made this video to help you locate some interesting materials for yourself to search for, because, you know, when I made the globalist video, I do feel like I'm not the best speaker or the guy to give you news like this, but what I want to at least help you with is to point you in the right direction to, you know, these places are where you can find actually pretty interesting material. And trust me, what I have shown you is just a tiny fraction of what's out there. There's a lot of stuff that, you know, speaks about these problems, and, you know, I've tried to, you know, show a little bit here and there in this video, but there's tons more. And all you need to do is to just go out there and find, and try to spread these things, videos to others. That's the best way of fighting these globalists and giving justice for yourselves as a conservative, because these socialists and globalist agenda, it will consume you if we don't act. We all are responsible. In a democracy where people go in and throw their votes, even if the winner of the election would win, they would have to think about the other side. But obviously, these social justice folks, they don't give a damn about what you care about. They just demonize you, call you a demon, and want you to just go under a rock and die. But we don't want that. We want a future that's worth calling a future. They want to take that away with these globalist thugs. They're brainwashed. We have to help them see themselves. I mean, they are just as much of a victim as us, because they can't see the trouble they're in. They can't see what these globalists are trying to do to them, what they're trying to do to our future. So it's our responsibility to try to help spread the word to others, to be informed of what's going on, not to be these zombies that's just gonna be, oh no, it's not our problem, because then you're just as guilty as anyone else. You have to respond to this. You can't just sit idle and let these globalists take away your freedoms, your cultures, your religions. That's all I'm gonna say. And hopefully you'll think the same, or otherwise they will win. It's that simple. It's either them or us in the end.